Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. The next Wasteless World Talks are here with Bill and Kevin. And today we will write again the future on the back of language. And today I choose a simple term which is known to everyone on the planet: night. And Bill, I will start with you. So if you close your eyes and you hear the term night, what came first to your mind, please?
Darkness, peace, rest. Although, as I'm saying that, another thought is trying to get in the word night, as in the Knights of the Round Table, or in the time of kings and castles, and a knight would be a warrior. And then there's other things trying to get into my. It's a big word.
What I mean in this time to write it right, it's the part of the day. So this was the meaning. And Kevin, the same question for you. If you close your eyes and you hear the term night, what came first to your mind, please?
I think of um, superstition, fairy tales, and all these magical events which only ever happen at night. Everything from dreams to nightmares, everything in between. So it's the population of the night.
You know, I had the noon event, and it was very interesting because uh, every one of us know what is day and what is night. So it was even easier. And why I came with the term, I was yesterday on a conference, and then there was the after party, which usually I leave first. So at 9:30, and there was a cloudy night. And this event take place in a repurposed industrial area. So everywhere steel, metal, you know, the rusty, and it was after rain. And I came out, and the night was really dark. And then the blue moon looked between the clouds. It was so powerful, so fascinating. I took a few pictures, of course, but with the mobile phone, you cannot do much. But it was so powerful that immediately I knew what should be the next term. And it was a lot of things which people saw when I say night. And what was interesting, not generally, I will say that the negative about night. So you mentioned nightmare, for example. That was just 10%. All the other was positive, which was interesting for me. And do you like or love night?
One thing I heard was that for us, when our body doesn't repair itself when we're awake. So it's only when we sleep that the body can repair itself, or we can recover from illnesses or whatever. So the night is wonderful because that is the time that we repair and replenish ourselves.
I like that. And during the day, there is much that is expected of us, either a meeting or a phone call, or the boss is asking questions, or then I've got to take care of the kids, and I've got to. So much is being expected of us during the day, and at night, the only thing that's expected of us is to relax, and as you say, to repair. So it's very welcome and far too short.
You know, one of the questions I asked at noon was, do you think that the virtual and digital world is separated the same way, so into day and night?
Oh, that's such a good question.
because because I don't know whether you have heard, but there exist already, it's not future, there exist already so-called dark warehouses or dark factories. These are places which are being occupied only by robots, and robots do not need artificial light as us. They really have all other sensors which can see in night, when we call it so. So I have seen such warehouses several times. It's sometimes somehow scary. If you enter as a human, there the emergency lights go off. But if you look from windows, which is the possibility, it's completely dark.
We call that a lights out factory. It's the same thing, and that is day and night, um, and it goes 24 hours a day, and so it's not really by the clock. Uh, when you were talking about digital, the first thing that came to my mind was, and you've been a proponent of have an unplugged day, no screens, no unplug, just unplug from all the craziness. And when you unplug, that's like night. That's peaceful. It's I like that. I like the lights out concept too.
As a species, we need day and night. We cannot, the way we're made. But I saw the fantastic thing about the human eye. Our eye is a different shape in the morning than it is in the evening. The reason being that when we're wandering around as a hunter-gatherer species, the colors in the morning are tinted yellow and orange and red because the sun is coming up. And our eye recognizes these colors. But in the evening, the colors change to become bluer, which means that if we saw something in one color, we wouldn't recognize it in another. So our eye adapts during the day to keep the color shift fairly constant. So we recognize the same thing in the morning as we do in the evening, even though in reality they are different colors.
You live on the north, Kevin. Have you been to the space where generally half a year is night and half a year is day?
Yeah, I've been up in Helsinki, where the nights are extremely long in the winter. But I think it's more psychological than anything else. It's just so damn cold as well. But I've never tried a 24-hour night or 24-hour day, and I don't imagine it's that pleasant.
On the other hand, there are, I don't know how to call it, a special courses where you spend 5 days in completely darkness. And the people say it's a really very strange experience, but for many, it is something like a total cleaning experience, which is on the border with madness, generally. At least at one moment, they don't know, because they said that you have even the difficulty to recognize whether you are head up or head down. You simply lost the 3D tracking ability of your head.
Imagine how it is to be the people who came back from the ISS yesterday or this morning. After 9 months, I mean, they're going to have to adapt to absolutely everything. It's like being born.
I know that we talked about it before. I'm asking myself, they are being sent to business trip for 5 days. They return in 9 months. In Czech Republic, you get paid so-called diets if you are outside in another country and so on. I think there are both or two of them or three. Three. I'm not sure whether there has been 2 or 3, but generally they must be billionaires already.
Yeah, it's good overtime, isn't
it? I just imagine the call home. Sorry, darling, I will not make it tomorrow. Maybe in 9 months.
But don't worry, I'll bill them by the hour.
No, it must be very interesting experience. You know, I think that generally it's the first time in a history when something like that happened, that for such a long time these people has not been able to go back. I don't remember there was anything possible. They are of course not the longest stay, but the longest stay was planned to be the longest stay. And that's the difference. You know, when I go somewhere for 5 days, I take my toothbrush with, but not all what I will need for 9 months. And yes, Bill.
I wonder what that's like to be in a small environment like right now. Uh, that's up, that's down. Um, I can lay down and change my perspective, but I can still feel the gravity. Um, I put my pen down here on the notebook. It stayed there. Um, but to be in an environment where none of that is true, and in fact, the Earth is over there, and sometimes I'm like this. And I have to look over there to find the Earth. So your whole orientation, uh, if you don't, my dad used to say, you got to know the difference between up and down. Um, which means that somebody's crazy or they're not using common sense if they don't. Um, and then for 9 months, never knowing whether it's going to be next week or next month or next year when I come back, that time that's got to really mess with your brain.
You know what is strange that the Elon Musk rocket was there already, I think twice, and they didn't pick them up. Why it's right now possible? That's my question. But we are speaking here about night, you know. How is it about day and night? Because they are in the night all the time. So I am sure they carry something like the covering the eyes probably for the night. But there is all the time the artificial light on because it must be on probably if something happened. So it's big change as well. How you manipulate your organism to understand that. You know, I don't know if any one of you work overnight. So as a night shift, I mean, I did for some time, and the body get used to it. It's just if you are younger, you get faster used to it. If you are older, okay, it takes some time. But then I have the advantage I can sleep anywhere, anytime. I just close my eyes and I am asleep. I don't care whether I'm in a moving vehicle, I'm in a tank. I really sleep in an army tank during the ride. I don't care. Uh, but there are people who are very sensitive to the light.
In Copenhagen Zoo, there's this really cute thing they have. It's such a nice idea. I can't remember what animal it is. Something, some animal from Australia, I think. And it's these animals don't go outside; they're kept inside. But what they've done is simulated exactly the time and the amount of light that's happening where they come from in Australia. So while Europe is in winter, for these animals, it's their summer. And so the light reflects that. And I think it's such a fantastic idea.
We have even a night pavilion, it's called. So, and they are really kept the animals who are living in the dark. And it was interesting during the noon discussion because Michael, who is from Kampala, Uganda, Africa, he said, you know, night is so time to dream. And for example, he said that between 3 and 4 in the morning is the best time to speak with God. But the other, what he says, you know, in Uganda, we have an insect, which is a delicacy, and we catch it in the night. We just light up and it came, and it's so delicious. So I don't know whether I will go to Uganda in the night to enjoy this delicacy. Uh, it was so interesting. It was so interesting to see really to talk about something which every one of us know. And I love night, to be honest. I love it. In the morning, when I go to the office, means between 3 and 5 in the morning, which is dark, nobody in the city. I ride through on a unicycle, and it's so beautiful. I can see the moon, usually not the stars because of the light smoke, but few of them I can. But when I am with my parents, there is a small town. It's so wonderful to see the stars. In your location, do you see the stars?
Oh yes, on the ocean. So even if there's too much light on land, but you can see the stars very brilliantly. Probably not as good as if I was out in the middle of the ocean and couldn't see land, but I we see them.
And
We
you,
see them.
Kevin?
Yeah, but light pollution here is not too bad. And the nice thing is after midnight, the amount of light is reduced even more. So you can see the stars, but depends upon the cloud cover, which in Copenhagen can be fairly, fairly thick.
Uh, to be honest, many people cover the windows for the night. So it's whatever, I don't know how it's called. I don't do it. When I'm alone, I don't simply do it. I like to look outside.
So we're talking now about something that happens every day. So either you enjoy the night and or you maybe you work during the night. Maybe you're a nurse or something. You work during the night, but it's pretty much the same tomorrow and the next day and the next day. Um, and like you say, I guess you get used to it. I remember uh, when I was a teenager, I had a job at um, an all night restaurant, and the manager probably hated me because every time the schedule went up, the next week's schedule, I would have three different shifts. So today would be the 7 to 3, the next day would be 3 to 11, and then 11 to 3. And it killed me. Uh, it was different every day, and my body needed some sort of regularity. So it's to me, it's very important that I go to bed at 10 o'clock, give or take. And if I'm up until 2 or 3, the kid's sick or something like that, I'm a mess the next day. My body needs that regularity.
On the other hand, if I do remember, you told during one of the talks that you are sometime working, writing in the night or in the early morning.
When I'm writing, for some reason, it's different. I'm not of this world. Um, but you're right. I do that. Um, but then naps are the great equalizer. Um, so if I'm up until 2 or 3, the next day I can cure that.
Is there anything what you do in the night except of sleeping, Kevin?
Um, no, the one interesting thing is that the night is this guy, the Ugandan guy was saying that 3 in the morning is when they can talk to God. Here in Europe, I guess it must be the same in America. 3 o'clock in the morning is the witching hour. Between 3 and 4 are when the ghosts and the spirits are most active during a 24-hour period. And so, no, I really enjoy sleeping. If there was an Olympic medal, I would win one for Scotland. I'm fairly sure.
I have to say
Well,
that my sleeping man videos are still popular, so I do understand it. I am training to beat you, so regular training.
so the two of you said the same thing. about 3 to 4 being the witching hour. And then our friend from Uganda said, is the best time to talk to God. Those are really the same thing, though, aren't they?
Yeah, yeah.
What was interesting was Tracy. She lives in the US. She's Chinese, but lived for a long time in the US. And she said, I don't divide night and day the same way as you do, because for me, midnight is the start of day. So it's not middle of night, but it's a start of a day. Which does not mean she worked from a midnight. It's just the setup is different with her. That was interesting as well. And generally,
But I must say,
yes, Kevin.
given the choice between working late into the night or getting up really early and work from early morning, I would much rather work in the early morning. I think that you know, there's less thought going on when people are sleeping, so everything seems clearer. There's not so much synchronicity interference.
I love it. You know, when I start at 4 or latest at 5 in the morning, I simply love it. And I think it came from the time when I was employed and I have several time zones to cover. And it was the time when I get a lot of calls from Asia and so on. But today I enjoy it because it's so silent. You know, I'm in the building, there is nobody here, and I simply enjoy the morning work. In the evening, I'm already tired. So, and no matter what I do, I am tired. So simple it is. I can work 2 days in a row, but the third day I will be completely beaten.
I'm the opposite. I like to work in the evening. My juices are flowing. My brain is more engaged. In the morning, um, I used to, when I was a boy, I used to have a paper route, and so I would have to deliver the papers at 5 and 6 o'clock in the morning. And there was something magical about that time, but I don't like it anymore. At 5 or 6 o'clock in the morning, the only thing I want to do is pull those covers up over my shoulders and gone.
You know, you speak right now about deliver the paper in the morning. The Czech Post, which is in big trouble for a long time, they introduced new service for postal, so postcards and so on, delivery. It's longer and more expensive, so it's great. So the best business solution they can do. The next step will be that if you send a letter, you can deliver it to by yourself to the recipient and just pay to the post. This is the next stage. But I have heard, Kevin, that in Denmark that the Danish Post drop completely or will drop this year the delivery of paper documents and postcards. They will cut the other service completely. I think the news came day before yesterday or so, so it's quite fresh.
Well, it makes sense. There's no post offices anymore, so where on earth can we buy a stamp? I have no idea. Oh, we buy stamps online. So, no, the Danish post office disappeared a few years ago. It became a small corner of a supermarket somewhere or other. And yeah, at the moment we still get post, but it's mostly free newspapers. There's hardly any mail traffic any longer.
We have here one special service. I don't know whether it's special in Czech Republic, but you can make a picture with your photograph. You upload it to the post website. You write the text. They print it and they deliver it as a postcard. Unique postcard. Unfortunately, you know, they cannot copy the handwriting, so it will be written in a typewriter or a computer text, which I have to say, when I came to a book and there is, for example, a postcard, old one inside, it's so beautiful to discover. And to try to read it, it's not easy, but it's so So fascinating. And to be honest, for a long, long time, I haven't wrote any letter by hand.
No,
No.
no.
But if we receive one, it's like a treasure. If it's not officials, but if it's from someone, it really, we should start to do it. We will exchange the addresses and we will start to do it. Why not? You mentioned once that you have a pen friend as a student. I have one in Russia. And you wrote a letter, and in 1 month you received the answer. It was somehow magic,
It's a different perspective on time.
and that's beautiful. Why not? Why not? Why not to come back to that? You know, not just the emails and no more faxes. Fax machines are, and still there are so many companies who ask on the website for a fax number. Who has fax today? People
I
even
think,
don't know what it is.
yeah, a lot of lawyers have to use fax machines for some legal reason. But they're the only ones, I think, these days. But it's like Christmas card. I mean, I haven't sent a Christmas card in years either. And then it was only to people in England. But I mean, Danes wouldn't dream of sending Christmas cards to each other anymore. You send an email instead with a funny picture on it.
When I was on the event, they gave me as a present the mini USB stick. And usually when you get it, you said, okay, so it will be 1 mega, maybe what? 32 gigabytes. Unbelievable. I was thinking that I'm looking wrong. I was expecting at least maximum 3 giga. And they fit 32 gigabytes on one. And I'm sure there are bigger ones. But to give this as a promotion present, you remember the days when 32 gigabytes has been, so the days of these ones, you will download it for about 150 years with a speed of 9.6 kilobytes.
So I went to trade shows several times a year over my career. And giving those was common giveaways. And so I would bring them home and I would download something and then I would forget about it in the top drawer. And then it would repeat itself and repeat itself. I have a plastic bag in that drawer right over there that's got at least 20 of those memory sticks. I have no idea what's on them. Whatever is on them will probably never be touched by the human eye again, probably, because I
Yeah.
can't see myself wasting the time of plugging it in. Besides, I'm not sure that I've got devices that will read those things anymore. So, it's like a CD or you know, it,
Uh,
somehow we have to slow down.
you just mentioned the CD. I do remember that last week there was a news that the VHS tapes, so video cassettes, that they have some material issue, especially in Japan. They are right now trying to digitalize everything because they start to disappear generally. So the material somehow, I don't know what's happening with it, but they are quite alarming because there's a lot of people who still has this VH. We have it as well. We don't have any device to play it on, but we still have it, of course.
So we have a governmental organization called the National Archives. I suspect that you have your own version of that in each of the countries. And it is their task to save original documents. Of course, documents now are not on paper. And that means that they have to also save the devices to access them. And can you see one electronic generation after another trying to maintain that so that you can uh, access the documents? So What does all this have to do with night?
Actually, I was just thinking that same thing. You know, the talking about the post, there are some night occupations which have now disappeared. So the post office doesn't work through the night any longer, or it won't do, to make sure we get the mail when we wake up in the morning. The milkman, I don't think milkmen exist any longer either. So there are all these old-fashioned nighttime occupations which have now gone.
You ask, what does it have to do with night? Generally, we fill all this data and everything during the day, because we are not working overnight. So we do it during the day. And the night is exactly as you mentioned at the beginning, Kevin. Night is there for the recovery. The question is, what recovery needs a USB stick filled with data? The fact is that there is more and more issues, because from one generation to the another, we do not have the software. We don't. So there's a lot of issues. And of course, we can right now with 32 giga, you can fill the entire library in that, if it's scanned properly. But you will never touch the sites. You will never smell the book. It will just be there as data. And this is why I came back to the first, or to one of the questions. Does digital and virtual has night? I don't think so. Or I will say different. There is night all the time, because the data don't need light. So it's all the time there. And the only question is, will we ever be able to recover that? Or will be there someone who will read it? You know, I don't know how many generations we need to plug the USB stick in the neck or somewhere in the head. But it will never be the same like reading the book.
The people don't read anymore.
I know.
I forget what percentage. 1/3 of Americans have not read a book since they left high school. 2/3 of Americans have not read a book in the last 12 months. I'm probably off with those percentages, but it's shocking. It's just shocking. So what will it be like in 10 years?
One question: have you read to your children books or fairy tales when they have been young?
Yes.
I have not, because I created the fairy tales in my head and then I write it after in computer. So I did a very opposite process. Of course, we have a beautiful fairy tales in Czech, some very scary of them, but I like to discover every single day there was a new fairy tale. And what was interesting, it began all the time with the same words. And we get used to this so fast that it was enough to say the words, no matter which time of a day, and you start to fall asleep. It was very interesting habit.
I like the word night. It makes me feel peaceful. It makes me feel less stressful. My mind does not. Some people go to bed and they think and they think and then they can't sleep. Um, I am not burdened with that habit. Um, and I look forward to the night.
And do you, yes, Kevin?
I was going to say, I was going to ask you, because night is quite similar in a lot of different languages. So in English it's night, in Danish it's nat, in Russian it's notch, in German it's nast. What is it in Czech?
Noc, N-O-C. So generally almost the same as a Russian, only we do not have this hook at the end. So we say noc.
Yeah, it's quite interesting how that word is fairly consistent through all our languages. So it must, if you think about it, it must be one of the earliest words we ever had, because it is such a fundamental thing.
is the same with day. Day in Czech Republic is D-E-N, den. In German, it's Tag, T-A-G.
In Danish, it's day, D-A-J, the J is silent, the day. But it's in Russian. It's different, isn't it? Dean. So it's quite similar.
So it looks like that these two terms has been invented at a very similar time. Why not? Because there has been there. So they have to name it somehow. But the question is, with the changing weather pattern, climate pattern, and so on, there is time where during the day you cannot work. It's too hot. It's too whatever. It's unbearable, whatever. So I think that maybe there will come the time when we start to live in night.
Yeah. Actually, there's one interesting. I was just thinking about the day. Of course, you would think that the opposite of day is night, and in a way, it truly is the meaning of the opposite, because it's one can't exist without the other. So it's the relationship between night and day is completely different to most opposites that we look at, because they're codependent.
That's interesting.
The words day and night were invented very early. I mean, even in the Bible, it says that God created heaven and earth, and he created the day and night. There you go. It was on the second day.
And what is interesting, really, what you just mentioned, Kevin, that these are not the real true opposites. They are just the expression of the dividing of the 24 hours in something which cannot one live without the other, because simply it will not. That's interesting.
And what is the opposite of night?
Is there any?
It doesn't have. At first, I thought it had something to do with light, but in St. Petersburg at 2 o'clock in the morning, I can still remember watching them play tennis without lights at 2 o'clock in the morning. So, in June or July, and so it doesn't have anything to do with light. But what is the opposite? Do some words just not have an opposite?
I don't know. And I know that we will not find it out because we have 1 minute 20 left again. And it's not about day and night. When we finish, it will be processed and it will be uploaded. And no matter when the people will look at it, I think they will understand what we mean. And that's so important. So thank you for your time. Have a nice time for your waste and wasting in all its forms. Stay safe, be free, be human, and enjoy the night, same as the day, because both has been given to us at the same time. See you next week. Bye-bye.
Good night.
Bye-bye.